thank you everybody for staying with us. And you know, I think as you'll kind of hopefully agree, this is like a film that is fun anyway, but even more fun to kind of watch in a packed kind of like with a packed kind of like room of people. Priya, has it been a while since you've seen the film? What was it like for you seeing the film after presumably what was possibly maybe a while since you've last seen it?
Yeah, I think the last time I watched it with people probably was, and in general actually it must have been like a year, because it released just over a year ago, and we watched it along then obviously with screenings and press and etc. So so nice. There's like such a wonderful feeling, like getting to experience it with an audience and see it through their eyes, and that's really special.
Does it make you feel a little bit queasy though, seeing you getting kind of like beaten up and stuff, or do you have enough kind of distance from the film now to be like, that's just a character who looks a bit like me?
Oddly, I'm used to it. I don't know if you can get used to something like that, but yeah, I definitely become a little desensitized to it, and more so again, it's just fun seeing everybody else respond to all of it
and laughing along with it. I think we had a really kind of like kind of responsive audience, so thank you all for your participation as well. So let's kind of like backtrack a little bit then. Tell us a little bit maybe about your background and how did you get involved with this, you know, fantastic, brilliant film?
Oh, wow. I don't even know where to start with that question. We could go back a long time. But I was very lucky very quickly, I will say. I was working a full-time job, not in the industry. I worked in healthcare communications, and I studied molecular biology at university. And as a lot of South Asian kids all know, you know, pick the safe route first. And I eventually decided that acting was for me, and I wanted to really, truly pursue it and give it my all. And within the first year, I was lucky enough to get the audition through the door, and actually I auditioned for another part in the film, and Nitha and the producers kind of got in contact and were like, no, we'd like to see you audition for Riya. And basically within a week I got the phone call, and they were like, we want you to play Riya. And it was just, if I could bottle that moment up, I so would. It's like better than drugs. Right.
And, I mean, because also it's also one of your first, on-screen roles as well. And so to be playing the lead, and, you are there in most of the scenes in the film as well. So I guess it's also quite a lot of pressure, I guess, with it also being Nitha's first film too. How did you kind of like deal with that sort of situation? Or on some level, was it also kind of new, you just were like, yeah, let's just get on with it,
Oh my gosh. Ignorance is bliss, I will say. So that sometimes when you don't know what you're walking into, I think there's a level of like calmness that you can approach it with. And I didn't understand, I think, the scale of it. I didn't know what it would be like to play it. So I didn't have any kind of assumptions about the pressure that I might feel because of it. But in the same vein, I had like a huge amount of imposter syndrome, which I know is something I think we all deal with, and it will never truly go away. But like, I remember sitting at the table read, and I looked around the room and I realized I was the person in the room with the least amount of experience and the most amount of lines, and was like, I don't know if everyone's going to regret their choices by the end of this read, but I just hope that I can, I wanted to just do my best, and I wanted everyone to feel that what I was putting forward was right for them too. And, I was just so lucky with such a supportive team. Never ever made me feel anything less than like the person for Riya. So I just had the most fun and really just like dove into it. It was really great.
And you say fun, but also you do get beaten up quite a lot in this film, and I think most of us could imagine that it was probably a very physical process. Not only I guess the actual shooting, but also presumably you had to do some kind of preparation and training as well. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
So we had, I think I was cast about like 6-7 weeks before we started the shoot. So it gave us a little bit of time, but not that much time. And I think literally the next day it was like fight assessment, stunt rehearsal, fight rehearsal, like meet the coordinators, do the wire work. And I basically was working every day up until the shoot to learn the fight choreography and I've never done martial arts in my life before. I'd never done any kind of stunts on this scale before ever. And so everything was new to me, but it was really important to me and the team that I was able to do as much of the stunts as possible, because this is essentially a movie kind of like from the perspective of Rhea in a way. This is a movie as if it was made by her, you know, it's all her favorite things amalgamated into a film. And so the fighting should be reflective of her. And, you know, I'm not Tomb Raider. I'm not like she's a teenager, so it's allowed to be rough around the edges, but, you know, she's still training in martial arts. So we wanted to get that balance right. And I think in a way, for me to do it over a stunt person, a stunt woman, it kind of made it more authentic in a way. And so, we just went for it. But it was very physical and it was a lot to learn. But really, again, I mean, all the kudos to the stunt team that we worked with. Rob Locke, who was our fight coordinator, and Crispin Layfield, who was our stunt coordinator, were just incredible. They made me feel like I was capable of doing anything. And when you have a team around you like that encourage you every day and empower you every day, there's not really much that can go wrong, sort of.
Brilliant stuff. I mean, I think the other thing, and I think that's interesting what you're saying about how, in a way, the sort of fight scenes, the approach to kind of like the martial arts is also informed by the fact that Rhea's character is learning to be a stunt woman. So she's not a fully developed stunt woman yet. So there's that kind of scrappiness to it. But also, I think one of the things that's also really striking is also the way that, you know, again, it's that kind of genre element of the film, that this is an action comedy as well. And the presence of kind of like comedy within even those kind of like fight sequences as well. So that whilst you are beating people up, I was thinking of, you know, those kind of comedy fight scenes in things like 70s Hindi movies, Jackie Chan films. There's kind of that kind of like combination of comedy, action, fighting sort of like scenes. And at no point did I feel like I lost the sense of you as a kind of character within that. So how do you kind of combine sort of like, you know, acting and doing those kind of like martial arts and stunts at the same time? Because it feels that there's a very close integration, I think, between the kind of martial arts and your performance as Rhea as a character as well.
I mean, Nitha is incredibly talented as a writer, and so much of this was already on the page. To have written the scenes, the fight scenes as they were, to ensure that the dialogue kind of was there in between all of the sequences, and her ability to ensure that narrative and the story was the most important thing. You know, I think sometimes we watch action film and we're just watching people kill each other. There's not a lot of heart to it, and every fight scene is a way to showcase the characters, to understand them better, to show their journey. You know, there's a dialogue in between this fight. It's like when two people dance and we understand that there's a dialogue there. And it was understanding that. And I think the combination of doing stunt rehearsals, fight rehearsals alongside doing acting rehearsals at the same time, and my studying of Rhea as a character happened alongside it all happened together, that I just felt like I was being her every single day. And there's something kind of meta about the fact that I was living Rhea's dream to be a stunt woman by doing my own stunts in this film about Rhea wanting to be a stunt woman. Is kind of really helps. Suddenly takes away the need to like put on a facade. I was just being her, and it was just so easy in a way. So yeah, I think
certainly for me, there's those bits when you fail with your kind of like flying kick and you fall on the floor, and there's something about those args that just, I think we all also feel those args coming right out of your soul, you know, that feeling of kind of like character. It's not just that you've hurt yourself, but there's a sense of it's coming out of that sense of frustration, I think, coming through really powerfully. What was harder, preparing for the fight sequences or preparing for the great dance scene? What was harder in terms of preparation?
I definitely think the fight stuff, there was a lot more of it in general, and also as somebody who's never fought before, it was definitely a harder task. I think I've I've loved dance since I was a child, and have done a lot of Bollywood dance, not at the best of levels, but I have done a lot of Bollywood dance, and so for me the dance sequence was just, it came really naturally. In fact, I think the hardest thing about the dance sequence was actually ensuring Rhea was in it, because the fight stuff felt so Rhea, and the dance is like not Rhea. This is like her really trying to do something, and it's like a part of the kind of operation, but she's not a dancer, she's a fighter. So yeah, that was the hard bit about the dance, but definitely the fighting was harder.
There's still quite a lot of choreography in both.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
And you know, the film, I think there's definitely a Hindi cinema vibe throughout the film. There's a Mohammed Rafi song in there, and there's something about the kind of quite a revenge plot, but there's something about your character's determination, that the moment that you have that suspicion, like, right, this is what I'm going to do, and there's a kind of obsessiveness that you, I think, see in some of those 1970s, you know, Amitabh Bachchan movies, etc. So it is kind of like Hindi cinema, Bollywood, is this a kind of a reference point for you as well?
Absolutely. I mean, there's clearly so many references to 1970s and just general Bollywood cinema as a whole within the film. And the dramaticness of this film as well, I think you can take a lot of inspiration from performances within Bollywood, because there is this like heightened, almost surrealist like element to Bollywood, this spectacle. You know, Bollywood is a spectacle, and this film is a spectacle, and there's something so fun about that, and yet it doesn't take us away. It still feels very grounded, and I think Nitha kind of allowed that balance to be created, you know. But it's because there's so many reference points in it as well. So not just Bollywood, but, you know, like action film, Hong Kong action films, and, you know, and comedy as well. And even bits that feel like almost horror-esque to it all. So it was really fun to kind of watch so many different things and feel inspired by so many different things. And I grew up on a very healthy diet of Bollywood cinema, but also action films as well. Both my mom and my dad like really were heavy on those influences, and so it was so wonderful for me to kind of combine those things that I love so much and have shaped me so much into this role. And
you know, with all those very different references, I mean, how do you I guess kind of like maintain a sort of coherence in terms of the kind of character? Because again, there's the comedy, there's the action, there's the very kind of like powerful relationship, you know, the sister relationship, the family relationships. I mean, how do you kind of like I guess kind of keep Rhea throughout that? I mean, you said that, you know, during the dance sequence it felt like this is the bit that is the least kind of Rhea in a way, but how did you maintain Rhea throughout all those very different kinds of types of performance and sort of scenario?
These are really good questions. I feel like, I think, for example, with comedy, it's about being truthful. It's the truth that's funny to somebody else. Like, Rhea doesn't think she's funny. She's just being herself. It's the audience that thinks she's funny. And I think that feels true to all kind of genres and themes within this as well. You know, I don't play the theme. I don't play the genre. I play Rhea. And she is the heart of what I do. And so long as she is my focus, everything else comes second. And everything else is often, you know, the comedy is not just from my performance or my castmates' performances within the edits, in the direction, it's in the prop, it's in the sound effect. You know, not everything comes from the actor. The most important thing that comes from the actor is the character, is her. And so I think ensuring that she was my center, and that was the only like important thing that must never be lost, was like made it a lot easier to kind of get rid of all of the things that make it easy to not focus on that, basically.
I'm going to ask one more question to Priya, so like please think about your own questions, because then the roving mic will be out there amongst you in just a moment. I think with this kind of like performance, it's, we hope, a real kind of calling card to all the film producers kind of like out there. You display such a range of kind of like talents and skills, and with so much kind of charm and like enthusiasm as well. What's next for you?
Oh, thank you so much, by the way. Thank you. I I have been very lucky to continue to work. I finished a show with the BBC recently, which should be coming out at some point. I wish I could tell you dates, guys, but these things are always a bit up in the air. Called Dope Girls, and that's really exciting. And I've been working on some other stuff that I'm not allowed to say, unfortunately. But I've been very lucky to have got such an incredible platform through this, and an incredible showcase through this, and yeah, I hope that I can just keep doing this thing that I love to do, and I feel very privileged to be able to do. So yeah, thank you.
We all hope so too. Definitely. So questions from the audience, if you have any, this is your opportunity. It's quite hard to tell because there's I think there's one just over here, so there's quite, the lights are hitting us in the faces a bit, so there's one just over on this end. Oh, Priya, do you want to take some water as well?
Thank you so much. That was such a pleasure, and incredible to combine all that pleasure and that kind of critical approach too, and so funny. Do you have like a favorite scene?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know. It depends on my mood. I have a lot of scenes that I love a lot in this for various different reasons. Of course, the dance scene is really special to me just because that feels like such an iconic moment. And some of the sister scenes are so beautiful as well. I think this might come as a slightly strange one, but one of the scenes that I really love is the scene at the dinner table with her parents and Lena, and they're talking about going to the Eid soiree. And there's something so wonderful about sitting at the dinner table with your family and like having that discussion. And you see so clearly all of the characters of this family and all of their relationships with one another as well. And it's just so fun to see the dynamics, and like obviously the cut to Eid soiree, but always gets a chuckle. So that's always really lovely.
You have a favourite line as well, and why isn't it biscuits are nice?
I do like the take off that bastard cardigan one. That one's a really fun line. At one point we were like, we should do merch and we just sell cardigans that say bastard cardigan on them. I think that would be really cool. And if nobody else wants one, I will make one myself.
Form a queue, everybody. Any other questions? Was there one? I think there's one just at the back.
Thank you so much. Dropping things. I hadn't actually seen the film before, so to get to see it here was like incredible. I think, obviously not to generalize, but so much of the film feels so familiar, I think, to all of us in so many different ways. And I was kind of wondering how that felt like when you were making it, to see scenes play out that maybe you've experienced before or other people in the room had experienced before, and how, I don't know, like how you dealt with that in the moment. Because I feel like there's been a lot of conversation around diaspora writing and how that can feel quite like difficult to put onto a platform, and to have people interpret it in ways that you don't expect. I don't really know what this question is, but just like how, yeah, you can do with that what you will.
Thanks. I mean, I sort of get what you're trying to say. I think, I'm sorry if I misinterpreted it. It feels really special when you read something that feels so true to like the life that you lived and the people that you know. Like there were, when you read something, you're like, I know this person. When you act out a scene, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like deja vu. It's happened before. There were bits about the sister relationship. I remember the first time I'd ever seen any of the script. There was this, in the scene, like Lena and Ria having a conversation, and my two cousin sisters who I'm very, very close to, I literally call them my Lena and Ria because they are exactly that. And the conversation, I remember reading it and literally phoning them up and being like, this is you. Like somebody has like snuck in your house, has been watching you and wrote a script. It was so like special to see that. And in a way it just made it easier to be Ria and to be in those moments, because it felt so familiar, and it was like, oh, I know what to do in this situation. It's kind of, you feel kind of it feels natural, and that was really lovely. And again, it just goes to show how brilliant Nidha is as a writer and director, to be able to put something on that we can all relate to, and not just the diaspora, but I feel like there's a universal relatability to this movie. And the other thing that I think is really important when it comes to something that's relatable is the specificity of it. When somebody tries to represent everyone in something, it suddenly becomes like too filtered, it becomes diluted. And Nidha chose to speak in a really specific voice, and didn't like shy away from the specificity of these characters, of them liking this really weird thing of siblings talking in a really weird way, and them having a language that only siblings know how to speak. And when they dance, they only ever dance to that song, and it's like a really weird thing that they do. And like leaning into that is actually more relatable to us, and I think that made it even more fun, like all of us getting to like learn a language with our other castmates and learn that language with the crew as well, and like how we wanted to create that specificity. And I think it's been so wonderful to see that other people have kind of seen themselves in those things and been able to relate to it.
Thank you. And I do think it's worth saying that I think your chemistry with Ritu Arya is absolutely stunning as well. Very kind of like believable, very kind of like tender, but also very realistic. There is a lot of love when you are beating the crap out of each other in that scene.
I had a lot of sisters be like, this is my life. And I was like, glad to know that you have such a loving relationship with your sister. No, but Ritu is incredible as well. Like, I remember the first day I met her, she gave me a present in a car and was like, so we're sisters. And I was like, well, that was easy. Like, that was really easy. And it was really just that easy. She was so easy to just, we still are like sisters, and I'm so lucky to have a relationship with her like that.
Brilliant. Any more questions? I can't quite see if any. Oh, do we have one at the back? I can't quite see if anyone's got. Oops. Oh.
Thank you. I don't know if you're personally interested in writing, but you mentioned how your own childhood growing up on action films and Bollywood films had informed this experience and your enjoyment of it, and also how much of the story was quite relatable in some ways. If you were to write a story, perhaps inspired by those influences, or any story at all, what do you think you would write?
Oh, do I want to give away my secrets? I have a few ideas up my sleeve. I think there's something really interesting about family relationships and community. I grew up in a really big family with a really large community, and I think understanding dynamics between family members and even those that like come into your life as family, I think is really interesting. But even just, like, I think I watched like Transporter at an age I shouldn't have watched it at, and like John Wick and James Bond and all the rest of it. My dad was a massive fan, and I think it'd be really cool to again combine that like really serious like action and really like good action. I think with this the spectacle again of Bollywood and kind of seeing how they kind of marry, but perhaps in again like big community setting. Some more. I have a brother, so maybe we'll do a sister brother relationship this time. But yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, well, if no one has any more questions, the one final one that I want to ask Priya, so that for South Asian Heritage Month, which just started last week, the theme this year is Free to Be Me. So just to hopefully end on a kind of inspirational kind of like note, Priya, can you tell us what does that mean to you? Free to be me. What does that mean to you at this stage of your career?
Oh my gosh, that's a very deep question. Free to be me. I feel like I feel very lucky in my life and very privileged to be able to do the thing that I love the most in the world and say that it's my job. And I think wanting to be true to myself in the stories that I choose to tell, the characters that I choose to be, and like really getting to showcase my voice, but also then being able to uplift others as well is really important. Like, we can't be free if not all of us are free. We all have to be free. And so I think that that's really important. And, you know, like taking inspiration from people around us as well, to be the best that we can be. I think Ria taught me a lot. And she stays with me very much. She inspires me because I think she's exactly that. She's free to be herself. And in a society that's often told women to be a certain way or to think a certain way or to do a certain thing, she chooses not to do that. And the thing that she believes and the thing that she realizes holds the most value in her life is the fact that she believes in herself. You know, it doesn't matter if anybody else thinks that she's going to be a stunt woman. She's going to be a stunt woman, and she believes it. And she recognizes that holds that's the only thing that's important. And like, I'm so lucky to have played somebody that has so much self-belief at an age where I definitely did not have that kind of self-belief. When I was her age, I feared what the world would think of me, or like I wanted to be the cool kid in school, and I definitely wasn't, and you know, all of those things. And she doesn't care. You know, the only thing that's cool is if she thinks she's cool. That's all that matters. So her ability to be free as herself has often inspired me to be free as myself, and I hope that we allow ourselves to continue to be that way and also allow other people to be free too. So maybe that, if that's inspiring enough.
I think we all feel inspired, and I think it's also safe to say that I think we all hope to and look forward to seeing your next kind of like roles, and really hope that you can kind of like build on this incredible performance. So everybody, please join me. Thank you so much for joining us, Priya Kansara.
Thank you for the wonderful questions. Thank you.
Please do check out the Garden Cinema programs. Thank you so much to Arafili, who's not here, Molly, who's not here, Abla, who's sort of introduced us today. Thank you to all the kind of team on the side and outside. I think this cinema is really good at making people feel welcome, you know. So huge thanks to kind of like all of you as well. Please check out their programs. So this screening was part of 2 programs. So Women Aren't Funny, which I think is still on for another week or so, plus the South Asian Heritage Month program, which is on for another few more weeks. So please do check out those fabulous programs, support the Garden Cinema. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody.
Thank you, Kulraj. Thank you. That last question was like, be inspiring, Priya.